Hey kiddos, guess what time it is? That's right, it's story time with Pop-Pop. And today Pop-Pop has a story called Rapunzel. I hope you're gonna like this one. It's a great story. Rapunzel. Ready? Here we go. There was once a man and a wife who had wished for a child for a long time. At last it looked like if their wish might come true. At the back of their house was a window from which the wife could look down on a lovely garden. All around the garden was a high wall. But even if there had been no wall, no one would dare go into the garden, for it belonged to a wicked witch. One day, the man's wife was looking down from her window when she happened to see some rampion leaves growing in the garden. Now, she knew how delicious they would taste in a salad, and she longed to have some. As each day passed, she wanted them more and more. Soon she began to look pale and sick. Her husband asked what was wrong, and she replied, "Alas, I must have some rampion or I shall die." Oh my. So the husband made up his mind to fetch some. He waited until evening, then he climbed over the garden wall. In a few minutes he was back, clutching a handful of rampion. His wife made a salad and ate it at once. It was delicious. In fact, it tasted so good that now she wanted even more rampion. What's going to happen? The next night, the husband crept back over the wall, but just as he was leaving, the witch saw him. "How dare you steal my rampion?" she cried. "Please," begged the man, "don't hurt me. I only did it for my wife, who thinks she will die without it." When the witch heard this, she replied, "If that be true, then you may take all the rampion you want, but you must give me something of yours in return. When your child is born, you must let me have it. I will care for the child and treat it as if it were my very own." The man was so frightened that he agreed and quickly fled from the garden. Uh-oh. Before long, his wife gave birth to a baby girl. When the witch came to take the child away, the woman cried and the man begged and pleaded, but it was no use. The witch took the child and named her Rapunzel. So that's where she got her name. Now it happened that the king's son was riding through the forest one day, and he heard the sound of a sweet song. It was Rapunzel, who often sang to herself to pass the lonely hours. The prince followed the sound of her voice until he came upon the tower. But since there was no doorway and no staircase, he could not get in, no matter how he tried. Day after day, he returned to the tower to listen to Rapunzel's sweet songs. And soon he began to fall in love with her. One day, as the prince stood behind a tree, listening to Rapunzel's songs, the witch appeared. She went to the bottom of the tower and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And then she began climbing up the long golden hair. Oh, So that is the way to get into the tower, thought the prince. The next morning he went to the tower and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." At once, Rapunzel's hair came tumbling down, and the prince climbed up. The prince came to see Rapunzel every evening. Since the witch came only during the day, she didn't know that Rapunzel had another visitor. And she may never have known if Rapunzel hadn't accidentally let the secret out. But one day, as the witch climbed up to the window, Rapunzel said, "I wish you could climb as fast as the prince." The witch was furious. "So the prince comes to see you, he does?" she cried. In a rage, she cut off Rapunzel's hair, which tumbled to the floor in a heap. Then she tied the hair to the window latch and took Rapunzel to a lonely forest far away. She left her there, alone and miserable. Well, wait a second, guys. You got a little bit of sunshine here. Let's change that. There. Now you can see better. Then the witch returned to the tower. She climbed up to the top and pulled Rapunzel's long hair up after her. When the prince called from below, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," the witch lowered the long hair out the window. The prince climbed up just as he had done so many times before. But what a surprise he had this time. Instead of Rapunzel, he found the angry witch glaring at him with fiery eyes. Hoo-hoo. "Ha ha!" she cried. "You have come for your little bird, but the cat has taken her from the nest. Ha 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 ha! You will never hear her sweet song again." The prince was so terrified that he leaped out the window. He landed in a bush of thorns, which scratched his eyes and blinded him. Oh no! And so, for many years, the prince wandered blindly through the forest. He was never hungry, for there were roots and berries to eat. But he longed to hear the sweet voice of Rapunzel again. Then one day, he heard a beautiful song drifting through the forest. He followed the sound, knowing that only one person could sing so sweetly. It was Rapunzel. He found her. When at last they found each other, tears of joy ran down their cheeks. As Rapunzel wept, two of her tears fell on the prince's eyes and made them well again. Then the prince led Rapunzel to his kingdom, where they lived happily ever after. There's the kingdom. Wow, what a good story. The witch lost. That was a good one. I hope you liked it, kiddos. Well, that's it for today. We'll see you next time. For now, this is Pop Pop saying bye-bye.